Mm.
Oh, oh, not yet. It's not. It hasn't shown up on the. But I will record so I can send it to you or just tag you. Okay. Oh, exciting! Dun dun dun. I'll do gallery view and I'll do. Oh, we're live! Yay! Oh,
Yeah.
not yet. It's not. It hasn't shown up on the. But I will record so I can send it to you or just tag you. Okay. I'll do better. Hi, welcome everyone to this live heart conversation. I would imagine there's a fire next, like we are sitting by the fire, have and in the starry sky, and have our cup of tea and drink, and just really feeling into our body and with our heart intention to open our heart. And so I have the privilege, and as you can see, I already was crying just in a brief conversation for before we hit the live, because there's so much going on. There are so many emotions that in the field that we are ready to release and really open up to experience. So I wanted to welcome Carilla Anra. She's an amazing gifted channeler, just a very heart-centered human being in her incredible way of going through this life, doing, offering, supporting a lot of people for the shadow work. And she herself, I know, is going through a lot of deep, courageous inner diving into the true self that's beyond the collective wounding and personal ancestral wounding. So thank you for being here, Karila.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for such a beautiful introduction. It's very moving.
Yeah, so I wanted to just dive right in, like pick up where we were chatting before we hit live, is that this year feels like so extraordinary, and we are in this Aries season, and I just feel this energy is so vivid and so vibrant, like all the waiting of the last 2 years, all this, you know, all the thoughts and desires are just coming up. Like I just cannot wait to be myself, to do all the things I've been yearning, desiring, and feeling called to do. And so perhaps we could start here and share with us what has it been, what's going on for you.
So right now I'm in a I feel like at this time in my life I'm just always in a land tantra field. So it's not right now. At the moment I'm doing a lot of land tantra, which is coming into ceremonial relationship with the earth, and the la the land tantra that is happening this year is it's incredibly profound, and um I feel like the last couple of years it has been aligning with astrology. The astrology that at the time of this recording is really unbelievable. You know, we have, if you count the moon, on the new moon, there will be 8 planets in Aries, which is like, Aries is the beginning energy. It's the new beginning energy. And so this really is a time for beginning. But also traditionally, Aries is also a sign that there's going to be war. So Aries is ruled by Mars, the god of war. And right now, there's many countries gearing up for war. The collective is going in that direction. And I decided that I was going to look up the root meaning of the word war, because I was like, what is war? I want to know what it is at the root underneath the earth so I can work with it. And the root meaning of the word war is to cause confusion. And I think that is really, really important, because I feel like that in these times we have to make sure we don't get confused. And I was thinking about all of the astrological patterns when there's a lot of planets in Aries, and the astrologers saying that this means war. And this thought crossed my mind, and I was like, in an age of patriarchy, it means war. So through the filter of patriarchy, it does. But then this other thought crossed my mind, and I realized, I was like, I don't think we're in an age of patriarchy anymore. And so I inquired as to what a more feminine filter of this is. And the sister of Mars, the god of war, is she's goddess Eris, and she is the goddess of chaos. And so I looked up the root meaning of the word chaos. And the root meaning of the word chaos is to void. And ultimately it means to open to what you don't know, to open to the mystery. And so I feel like we're at this collective moment where we can get confused into war again, or we can open up beyond our own identity. Because the reason she's chaos is because when you truly abandon your identity, then there is chaos, right? And that's how you open up to something new.
Yeah.
And it
Right.
feels really important to know this at this time.
Yeah. I love your perspective, and I know you always love to look at the roots of a word. It says so much, and I love what your perspective of the chaos when we abandon ourselves. And so Aries is in my first house, and I wanted to connect this with the bigger sense for the individuals as well. I feel what you say that we create chaos when we are not connected, when we don't remember, when we are afraid to be our true self. So
I don't know if we create, I feel like we create chaos as in disruption of a pattern,
mhm.
disruption of a repetitive cycle, when we abandon an identity. Aries is all about identity. And so if we want to what happens is if new energy comes in and our identity fights that new energy, then there's war. If new energy comes in and we use it to abandon the old identity, then there is creation. And I believe that there's a very important, when you do a lot of land ceremony, you're working with the collective consciousness a lot. And I believe that there's a very important collective identity that we are meant to abandon at this time. And that collective identity is, my guides call it the identity of never-ending guilt. And it's in the feminine energy. And it really is, everyone will resonate with it, I'm sure, because it's the guilt. It is, rather than a story of guilt, even though we may place story on top of it in our consciousness, it's more the tendency to identify with guilt. So you text someone and you feel guilty. You don't text someone and you feel guilty. You do the new thing of your path and you feel guilty that you didn't do it well enough. You don't do it and you feel guilty. You rest and you feel guilty for resting. It is the guilt that we manage to orientate towards whatever we do. And this is a deeply important identity to be abandoning right now, because guilt is, in the shadow context, it is the responsibility of not changing.
When I'm listening to you, that I think it feels like you're resonating a lot of level, in the sense that even though I don't think I'm running on guilt, but it does like creeping, like the guilt of resting, the guilt of eating healthy or not healthy, the guilt of how I use my time. And I am curious about how is this coming up at this time of Aries? I know it's like about interruption of the old identity into the creation. It's almost like, yeah, I'm curious that if what your guy says about this guilt, because it, I'm just gonna blend in, like, how does that, it almost feel like it's a control as well.
Guilt does control us.
Yeah.
I might be being a bit risky saying this, but I would say that if there is any coordinate that keeps us in the matrix, it is the identity of guilt. And you know, the guides were channeling last night, they were saying, really, there's only two reasons to do anything. Maybe there's three as I'm speaking now, but there's love, and then there's fear. But actually, most of the time, we're running love or guilt as our reason to do anything. We're not so scared. People don't really, you know, we're more likely to do something because of guilt, really, than because of fear.
Yeah. So I know you're going to offer more of the ceremony to support people to work with the guilt, but at this space, I wonder, because I now when you're talking about that, it almost feel like guilt is part of the frequency of the fear. If you think about if I think about fear of a frequency band, it's like one shade of it.
So what my guides showed me was that very early on in, you know, we have identity coordinates that anchor us into an age. And in the age of separation, guilt was a very important anchoring for separation consciousness and orientation for separation consciousness. In fact, if you look at the Abrahamic religions, there is a huge amount of guilt in them. You know, guilt was a really way that we identified and storied ourselves in the age of Pisces. And I agree with you that it probably belongs to the bandwidth of fear, although when I work, I tend to work very specifically on that the understanding of the word, because I find that that is how, if you want to change something, it's better to work with it very, if you're working kind of surgically, you need to work very specifically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so from that more specific point of view, I think that guilt is stopping. It is an energy that causes us not to change. And right now, Aries and the sky and everything, every force in the cosmos really is pulling us to change. And guilt, where it is inside of us, it's in our hara center, it's in the nerve, which is our belly. It's in the nerves that are the freedom to grow and change. And if we don't start to understand the patterns and the responses and the root of guilt inside of ourselves, then we're going to be fighting that change rather than receiving it. Yeah. So we're going to be in the war version of Aries rather than the chaos opening up to change version of the Aries stellium.
Right. Right. I'm curious that where do you feel we could flow with this, what we are talking about in terms of like supporting people through these changes? What I mean is that I feel it's almost like there's a lot of energy coming through, like inside, outside, like, from the earth and cosmic and solar flares and all that to support us to really to look at ourselves, to choose, to invite us to choose who we are and what we are here to do. And I'm sure everyone has a lot of dreams and desires and call to take on certain projects or to create a better life, so to speak, for ourselves or for the family or for the community, or even for the collective. And how are we, yeah, just allow this to see how this wants to flow.
I think that the thing is, most of us that are awake, that are conscious, we are opening up to those dreams, to those ideas, but we're still running them through this pattern of feeling guilty. So we're beating ourselves up because we didn't do enough time on our website, or we didn't write a nice enough newsletter, or, and so we're still running it through the old pattern. And in a way, one of the most powerful things I think we can all do right now is come into curiosity and really genuinely keep asking, well, how would I do this if I wasn't guilty? And then what frequency are you bringing to the sacred work you're doing if you're not guilty? You're not constantly finding a way to orientate this beautiful soul work with guilt, because that is our orientation. And my guide said something very interesting. They said, everything in the universe works on a swing. And so in some ways, the age of guilt which you could call it's another way of naming the age of separation. The age of Aquarius is born as we swing out of that guilt into the age of forgiveness. You know, the swing away from the guilt is how those paths and those dreams and this reality happens. It doesn't happen through the same old coordinate and identity. And that's why it's, and in terms of supporting people in it, I think anybody listening has modalities that can support people. But the greatest thing we can do right now is live. Is live it.
Yeah, I actually have a question that the image that comes through is that, you know, we talk about Land Tantra in the beginning. Like, I know you have devoted a lot, your recent years to really deepen that connection with the land, with Gaia, and so that's when you start talking about working with the land is working with the collective consciousness. And so I feel like I'm bringing this in just to maybe an invitation, like how do you, so for you, you know, however much you want to share is the how are you approaching or living, I would say living this ceremony, you know, life as ceremony with the land and with your offer. And do you yourself also experience that, how that guilt is playing out, or and how are you going about?
So the guilt's fairly new. I'm on the way to land ceremony, and so it's not it's a new wound that has been revealed to me in conjunction with the land work that I'm about to do. And the reason I'm so dedicated to land ceremony and fields that include land is because when it comes to changing our core collective wounds and identities, there is nothing that I know that is more effective for me than working with land. And so how land teaches us is it initiates us. The land ceremony, by the new moon, I will be able to hold the template of human consciousness that doesn't have this never-ending guilt coordinate in it. And I can say that so certainly because I know that if I cannot hold it by then, I won't be at that ceremony, because the land will not give me passage to do that ceremony unless I am embodying the codes of the ceremony that it wants to do. And so you cannot, why I love land is you cannot fake it. You cannot just half understand a concept. By the time that me and everybody else that is doing this online or in person, by the time the ceremony actually happens on the new moon, everybody will have had the initiation process that will mean they can hold that code. And if they don't fulfill the initiation, they won't be there. And I feel that at this time, it is very hard for human beings to initiate us because human beings are so coded with the old world. And so for me, the most powerful initiations of my life have been with land.
I feel that's why, or maybe one of the reasons why that I see more and more people are actually awakening um, to establish more conscious connection with the land. Now, even people who are not so, let's say, spiritually awakened in the sense that more people are being drawn to go to certain places and then to really receive that, well, perhaps it's the initiation of the codes. And I'm curious, would you feel called to share, like, can you give us one example of like how the land, what kind of initiation you were given by the land when you first started, or
I don't think it's when you first, if you work with land, you're in constant initiation.
Mhm.
And so, and what's interesting is the word tantra means to weave. And so what blows my mind is how the different lands are working together at this time to help humanity, you know? But I was in India in February, and it was this crazy pilgrimage in India because we were told to go to these 4 different temples that are nowhere near each other. The amount of distance that we covered just to go to these temples, nobody would do this trip. You know, like and we weren't even going in the best order because we were timing the temples with different astrology, so we didn't even go in the easiest way. We went in the astrological way. And each of those temples had a teaching. India is the land of the higher heart. It is the land that teaches, that holds really the codes of enlightenment. And as the spirit of India says to me, she says that it's the land that activates and regulates simultaneously, which is why it's so good for enlightenment. And if you think, nearly every enlightened master has had a connection to India. And so, and there's more Babas, and you know, there's more embodiment in India than anywhere else. And it's because the land holds the codes, it holds the teaching. But one of the last temples we went to was the Allura Caves and Kailash Temple in the Allura Caves, which isn't Kailash Mountain. It's in the Allura Caves in India. And there was this incredible transmission and teaching from that place on presence and the role of present in terms of embodiment. And then with everything, you know, when things are going crazy on the collective, it's usually because there are people who are doing ceremony to make things happen in a way that isn't necessarily positive. So if you are in ceremonial service to the earth, you are often called into ceremony as a response. And so there was an emergency response ceremony called, and in Egypt. And then part of that ceremony involved climbing Mount Sinai, and the climb itself was part of the ceremony. And so we were told that we had to press silence into the mountain with every single step. And Mount Sinai is not an easy, I've climbed it 3 times. The first time is in my 20s. The second time was a couple of years ago, and then last month. And you climb through the night, so you haven't slept. It's one of those ones that is never ending. You think you're counting the torches of what's ahead, and you think, and then you turn the corner, and then there's more. And then you get to what you think is the top, and then there's 700 steps. And what was amazing to me about this ceremony is I was able to stay present every single step. There was not one moment on that mountain that I wasn't enjoying myself. I was so present. I didn't think it was possible to be present all night long climbing a mountain. I will never forget it as long as I live, because I never thought that consistency of presence. And actually, as I speak, one of the other codes from India was consistency. And so India initiated me for the climb of Mount Sinai.
Yeah. I love you are sharing this experience because what you're describing about your climb, to be so present and then climbing through the night, reminds me of the moment, the last night when we climbed through, like, to summit Kilimanjaro. Like the last night as well, we have to start tracking at 10 p.m. And by the time we came back, it was, I think, 12 p.m. the next day. And that feeling of it's just never ending. And I feel that's the feeling of presence I've never experienced ever. Like, it was on, and I just don't think I could carry on anymore. But I just have to keep going. And that night, the wind was like 44 miles, they say, per hour. I don't, it's just very strong. And I love how you are saying that, you go to different land and they initiate you with different code, and what it takes for the human body, for the human emotions and the mind, in order to be there, to receive those code, to sort of pass the initiation. And then the land will guide you to another place, the next piece of the land, like almost like the grid point, maybe on a personal point of view, but also on a collective point of view, to receive a different code and receive a further initiation. And what I feel is that it really strengthening you as a human. It's like, this is, I don't know, we talk about remembering who you are so much, but I feel through the land initiation, it's almost like you cannot but really, I don't know, going within, and then to feel that, the sense of who you are.
You've hit the nail on the head. You really understood and described so beautifully land initiation. And I believe that the crisis that humanity is in is because we have lost proper initiation into proper adulthood. What land does, what an initiation like that is, it develops, it builds your nerves. It teaches you to surpass your own limitation. And that you can. And in a way, humans, we've got too addicted to comfort. We need to learn how to be uncomfortable. And that's when as we learn how to be uncomfortable, and the beauty and the magic and the wisdom and the miracles that come with being uncomfortable, what we're also learning is to open. What we're also learning is to meet and face and trust and surrender and all that is required for us to open to the unknown. Because when you initiate with land, you never really know what you're doing. You know, it took me, I was on land pilgrimage. I'm still in it. I'm still in the same trajectory. The next ceremony is part of the same body of work that is repairing what's called the silver holding. But, you know, I was in Japan, I was in India, there's been many lands that I've had to go to build the picture of what we're doing. And I still will never fully understand it, because when you are in ceremony with the land, you are letting Gaia lead. You're letting her guide you, her dance you.
Yeah, I feel very touched because I feel part of our remembering journey, you know, is to remember our connection with the land, our connection. Like it's more than just cognitive, but like really that visceral feeling of that we are part of this earth, that there is such an intimate and interconnectedness between my, like me as a human body and the earth herself. And of course we are also learning about the interconnectedness of humans, right? Like what you do affects how I am. What I do affects, you know, different people when we come into contact, or even just in the field. Yeah, and I love to bring up as well, like that courage to live in the unknown, right? Because we, like you said, we're addicted to comfort. So it's like whatever I have an issue, I think the tendency is like, okay, let me do an activation. Let me go to a healing workshop. I mean, we have so many of them, you know, all over the place right now. Like it's almost like we believe we just do a meditation or activation. I mean, which is true to a certain degree, that we could dissolve a lot of imprints and emotions and the healing. But at the same time, I think to take on a devotional act of traveling somewhere, as you know, in reverence to the sacredness of a place, or just even without knowing the full picture, right? I think that courage to live in the unknown and just to honor the guidance is so, yeah,
And
it's so powerful.
how can I put it? The greatest reco, you know, in the end, the world changes when we change the score within the body. And we can do lots of change on our emotional body, on our energy body. But how you change the score within the body is you live it, do it differently. And what land pilgrimage, in my experience, will always do is give you a series of initiations that are invitations to live it differently. And not everybody passes them. And if they don't pass them, they don't end up in the ceremony because they can't hold the new code that's coming in. And so in a way, the journey to the land, not just in the case of up the mountain, but the months and the weeks leading to the land are as important as, you know, a land will start working with you months before. And we also have some work to do. So lands will work with me faster now, but that's because I have become more fluent at speaking to different land and land spirits. And in some ways we have to earn the trust back. You know, there is this time period that humanity has to go through where we have to come back into healthy relationship with the spirits of the land because we've been in unhealthy relationship. And the learning of how to be in healthy relationship is also so valuable. And you will not be let into the magic of a place unless you come in right relationship. You can go to the place, but you will never truly receive that place unless you're in the right relationship. And sometimes we have to go. Sometimes you can get it. Like I have lots of online fields that assist land in person, and people get loads from those fields, maybe more than anything else that I do. So sometimes you don't have to go, but sometimes you do have to go because it's part of you coming into right relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, I'm hesitating to share this. But okay, I'll just say it that the time when well, 2 years ago, I signed up to go to Tibet and to Mount Kailash, and at that time, I don't think I know what Kailash was. So I started to Google it, and I think so it has been a long journey, even like you said, like every time we feel called to take on, well, to go to a to reestablish, get to know the land. Like every month before, it's like already an initiation because I had to go through so much fear of my physical. I don't like the cold, you know, like all these things of the mental, the comfort that I don't like to be uncomfortable. And I do feel that a lot of time I was just going about in my human personality, like, oh, how do I prepare? And I remember I think we were there for 16 days. I just felt such a, I don't know, it's like an expansiveness. I have never felt so present and so alive, but not in the, you know, like party mood, but it's like it's just a feeling of the body. And on the day of leaving Tibet, I just started to have a lot of tears, like without stories, just like I was gathering in the group saying, like we were just doing some qigong, and then I was just standing there 10 minutes, the tear just kept coming, and without stories or any voices. And of course the mind just saying, oh, it's just because you are leaving and this is the only time you know, this is the only time you are here, so of course you're feeling all this experience. But after I came back, and then, you know, it was like 2 years ago, and I still would come across videos. I would be called to watch some Kailash videos, and I would be like bawling my eyes out. So I just feel like I've been to many, many places or sacred sites, but I don't feel, I think this is the first time I felt there's such a strong connection that the land could awaken us to. like there's a deeper part of myself. There are many parts of myself that I have not get to meet and know and have the courage to receive through this connection, this physical tracking, like to the top of, I mean, not the top, but the Kora, the top of the Kora. And it was so hard and it was so uncomfortable, so painful. But it's just very magical of how this ripple effect still taking place even after 2 years. And actually, it was on the last day of the Kora in Kailash that I received a download that, okay, next is Kilimanjaro. And it was, yeah, it was to my human personality, it was like, oh, cannot be true. But, and then 3 months after Kailash, 2 months after, I was guided to go to Mount Shasta. So it's almost like, I just feel life could be very magical if not, if we're not okay, with my human mind in between, feeling guilty, like guilty of how I squander my time traveling here and there. That's just part of the whole story, and how I use with my how I do with my money, how I'm not working. So I think I'm tying the topic of guilty back to this connection, and I think working with land the last few years consciously, more aware, with more awareness, really has created some deeper awakening. Yeah, so I cannot imagine how you have been feeling after so many initiations with the land.
My I have one of my big projects is called From the Mountains with Love. So I know what those Apu spirits are like. And the hardest initiation, in my opinion, is the mountain one. Because the mountains are like, you want to come, you've got to prove that you're a mountain. And to the point that my friend, every time the Mountains with Love project is happening, my friends have this saying, they're like, Kareela's mountain black hole. Because before the mountain, I go in to the like mess and the black hole and the shadow that the mountain wants me to understand. It's part of the process. Like the Apu spirits, they will never, they're just, if you want to meet a mountain, you have to be a mountain. And so the mountain will make you mount. You will never climb that mountain unless you're internally mountain if you're doing it ceremonially.
Mm.
And the Apu spirits, they are at this moment in time doing incredible. They are the great record keepers. They're changing the record of the old earth to the new earth. So our ceremony with them is particularly important. And it doesn't, like you say, it doesn't leave you. For me, there is, well, I think I asked for it. I think I was like, because when I'm on land journey, like you say, it's the most alive and the most real thing you will ever experience in your life, and the most magical thing. And I think I was like, I just want this to be my life. And now it is my life. And it really is. Like it's my life. And but to me, it's the greatest it has been always the best use of my time and my money. I have never, and I don't know anyone that would ever regret pilgrimaging with the land, because humans are meant to be in ceremony with the earth. It is also how we give back to the earth. Our ceremonial service is how we give back to life. And so, I've had times where Land has been very expensive. Many times where I've been like, really? Like, really, you're gonna make me go and do this? And I don't have any money. How am I gonna go and do it? And then you go and you're provided for. Because one of the initiations often with land is the leap of faith. Usually that's the first initiation. So you don't know how you're going to make it possible. You don't know how you're going to have the funds. You don't know how, and the mountain's saying, well, are you going to come anyway? Because the land is also teaching us to manifest, but not manifestation from the egoic teachings of manifestation that are mainly in the collective consciousness right now. Manifestation that is co-creation. Manifestation because you're aligned, because you're in service, and because you're taking a step towards you, because you go into the void naked without the means, so that the earth can meet you there. And that is part of what the nature kingdom and land is teaching us. And it is nearly always the first lesson in every land pilgrimage. And there's been many times where I've been like, I don't know how this is going to work. Times where I was called to land in the pandemic, and I was like, there's no flights. And it would be like, are you going anyway? And I'd be like, if I have to walk through the night, I am going. And then the law would change and it would open up. You learn passage. You learn the rites of passage. You learn what you have to, the internal landscape for passage. And that's also invaluable. You cannot put a price really on what you get from doing land.
No, no, because I feel what we are learning, or at least for me, what I'm learning is that to live a life that is free from the old programs and the rules of the calculating and the safety. Not that how do I say that? It's almost like it's I feel like I'm learning right now is how to live as the bigger self, like when you say it's the leap of faith. And I think that is the initiation for so many, because we very often we said we want to be of service, we wanted to make an impact, but I need comfort of certain things that are in place. But I feel that's what we are breaking free from. It is to truly, how do I live from that true, I can feel that I'm looking for words. It's like, how do I live as that true presence of myself, walking in the unknown, and just really be in that flow of creative energy, and trust that this is what I'm here to do, or this is who I'm here to be, and not in the egoic sense, but truly like live as the true self, in an embodied way, but right, not to let guilt or fear or like a lot of old stories, right? The story I've chosen in this lifetime as a Taiwanese, as a woman, as a whoever living in Europe, like without all this attachment. Yeah.
I think the first thing is to be curious. Curiosity is a profound medicine for a story, an identity. Well, who am I if I'm not this? You know? The second is to initiate, because that's where you prove that you're not. That's what I'm saying. Land will make you face that stuff before you get there. And the third, maybe there's four things to say. The third is from another amazing Apu spirit. This one I don't know if I want to go in the ring with very often. It was Uluru in Australia. And Uluru, just before I went to Uluru, I got the Tower card, and my personality self went, I don't want the Tower card. I don't want that to be about Uluru, and that is exactly what Uluru gave me. It took everything from me. And but what I learned is that we don't get to the divine by having more. We get to the divine when everything is taken from us. Sometimes sometimes a land will strip us. And, this is why land stuff is sometimes hard to market, right?
Yeah.
You're like, come and get stripped of everything, your identity. But actually, it's all done with so much love and so much beauty. And the thing is actually you can handle it when an ancient mountain is holding space for you. You can't handle it when a human that doesn't know how to hold that is holding space for you. You need the land to hold you. And in a way, it's about not judging. It's about surrendering to what is happening is divine. It is Gaia's will, it's God's will, it's the process, it's the divine progress of the process, because you are asking to be evolved, and so the land is answering you. And doing it in Gaia's way, which is actually maternal and loving and supportive and generous and colorful and through living. And I think the other is with the guilt, because we keep coming back to this. My guides, in this wound journey I'm having with the guilt wound right now. So mountain black hole, the guilt one was 12 hours long. I was there looking at this guilt wound for 12 hours being like, I just don't know how we heal this one, because it is never ending. So how do you heal it? And the guide said, you have to be as radically forgiving as you are guilty. And then they explained what forgiveness was. And I loved this definition of forgiveness, because I struggle with that word because of how much religious conditioning and social conditioning there is around that word. The guide said forgiveness is being given what you need to move forward. And, you know, when we're guilty, we're stopping ourselves from being given what we need to move forward. And sometimes we just need to say, give me what I need to move forward. And probably what you need is not what your ego thinks it needs. You know, most of the time, what your ego thinks it needs is going to be the opposite. But you don't, in land, you don't get what you need, you get what you want. You don't get what you want, you get what you need, and what you need gets you what you want. You know, like it's not, you're not going to get the thing that you think, which is the money just appearing in your bank account. Not going to happen that way. Doesn't happen. Sometimes it does, but most of the time, it. Someone in India turned up for the land pilgrimage with £25 in her account. That's all she had. And I cannot tell you how much things just happened that meant it was possible. Another person in India, the whole time, was like, I'm coming to the 3 temples. And I was like, there's no way you're just doing the 3, you need to do the 4th. It's not good. Like, and like she was laughing at me and I was laughing at her because I was like, you're gonna do the 4th because I know these processes and you're not gonna leave half cooked. And she because she left it so last minute to decide for the 4th, I couldn't get out of the hotel that I had booked that was very expensive because I wanted to end in this very expensive hotel where I could integrate. And I was like, I don't think I can get out of it. So you're gonna have to stay somewhere else. And she was like, that's fine. But we'd been staying together the whole time. And literally we got picked up. We'd ordered an airport taxi to take us to the hotel, and the hotel forgot to send it. And so they upgraded us to a suite room. And I was like, if my friend stays in the extra room that you've now provided for us, how much is it? And it was cheaper than her staying in the hostel.
Wow.
And this is what I mean is like, but she needed to commit to come in before those solutions, you know, the solutions are not the thing that your ego thinks.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
And this is the other thing you learn on land is how to just show up and receive whatever is given. And I would have been, you know, if we hadn't ended up in that posh hotel and we'd ended up in the hostel, I would have trusted it as equally. But that's because I've done a lot of training in land pilgrimage. And so I've developed, the land's given me the nerves to show up in the mystery.
I just, you know, in saying that, I know it feels uncomfortable, but aren't we all actually are living in the mystery of life? It just depends on whether we struggle through it or we just like you, we just like learn to go through the initiation and then get to enjoy and to receive, show up, and then receive everything, right? Because we can kick our way through life or we could just, you know, really open our heart through the journey.
Or we can live a life where we don't show up. That's the life that, like, if your soul is calling you to do something, go and do it. Money, social status, all these things are not important as why your soul wants you to be here. They're not. And that's why it's, to me, there isn't any, if I'm spending my money and my time on my soul's calling, then I can't think of a better investment.
Mm.
And I also know that Gaia wants us to travel. She wants us to use fuel to be in ceremony. She wants us to use travel, not to just get drunk and have a party, but to go and learn and live and align. She wants us to use the resources of the earth in service to the future generations of the earth. And so it's also a great use of, she doesn't want us using the resources to stay stuck.
Yeah.
Because that isn't the course of nature. The course of nature is to keep growing, to keep evolving. And nature wants us to be in ceremony because ceremony is relationship. And when we're in relationship, then we're in co-creation and harmony and ultimately peace. And there isn't a fuel crisis going on in nature. There's a fuel crisis going on in the human reality. Because nature uses fuel in the right way.
Mm. Yeah. There's so many, there's so much. I just love listening to you sharing your experience because that you can feel that it really come pouring out from your being. Like, so it has a different sense of support and truth and encouragement. Yeah, and I noticed that our linear time has come to a close, and I wanted to see if there's any question. I think I haven't seen people asking question, but so I just, yeah, I wanted to really invite. I have personally been following your journey the last, I think last 2 3 years since our first conversation, and I know you have such integrity and you really are walking your talk, and so it's just such a profound heart energy in your being and your way of living your life. So I want to invite people, this is a time that we're connecting to. Like, I know you have a ceremony singing your body free, and would you like to share a few words about that, and anything you feel like sharing?
So the wound that the guides are working on, this guilt wound, the ceremony for it is in a temple to Hathor in Egypt. And it's not a ceremony where you sing. A song has been created for your body to listen to that helps the coding. What the guides have been working on is the nerve. We have three main nervous system centers. We have our head, our heart, and our hara. And these are places where the divine gets into us, where consciousness gets into us. So our head is how consciousness gets into our mind. Our heart is how consciousness gets into our emotion. Our hara is how consciousness gets into our body. And so this is very much working on the embodiment level. And particularly the wound of the never-ending guilt and opening out of it as a coordinate and an identity. And anybody that wants to be, this is what I mean about trust. So nearly always land ceremony fields are by donation, because then people can decide what they want to pay, which is the way of the earth. And this one, the guides are like, can't be by donation because guilt is connected to overgiving, and if anybody doesn't donate, then you'll be overgiving, and then the field's not perfect. So like, and so that they've said it could be paid for, there's a fee, or people can donate beforehand, but they have to use numbers 1 and 4. So anybody can come as long as you donate numbers 1 and 4, because we are officially in the age of Aquarius. And because we're doing the reason for that is because we're doing DNA work. So, and 144 is the number of the DNA. And so, yeah, and it's happening, and it you'll be in the field, which means you'll receive everything from the land, but there will also be channelings from the guides to help heal this wound of never-ending guilt.
Yeah. It feels like a very potent time, and also you are in between initiations of the land. Do you also want it to? So I would be happy to share the description, and I'm also curious that where is your next land initiation or ceremony?
The next one is in Spain, which is full, and then Iceland is next, which is nearly full. Because really the guides have been working on all of these wounds around our ability to open, and then the next part of the summer in the northern hemisphere in a way is about how we actually handle flows of magnetism and magic and feminine power that we're not used to, and so Iceland it's called Uncapping Your Magic, because it is about learning to receive a level of magic that we are not used to physically being open to.
Yeah. Yeah. Iceland's such a magic land. So yes, I will be so happy to share that information as well. So if anyone that feels called to join Carilla with your initiation land black hole, but I wanted to say something like the black hole, but even this to strip away, but what you gain is so much love, and then the
What the land will only take what isn't true. And most people don't have I do the black like, if you're leading it, you do tend to do the black hole more than other people have initiations, but my way, I'm dramatic. I'm like, hours of weird. Not everybody has it in the same way as me, okay? Like,
okay.
but yeah, the thing is, if it's calling, it's calling. Don't if the land is calling you, answer the call. Because the land will give you so much more than whatever it takes to get there. Because this is Gaia. Like, this is Gaia. Look what she does with one seed. It will always produce so much from you'll never regret it. You'll never. And you have some land coming up, right? You're taking people to Kailash.
I am. Oh, yes. Yes, I received the call. I think I answered the call, have just a bit cautiously, slowly. Yeah, I'm taking people to Tibet and to Kailash and to do the Kora because this year magically is fire horse, and according to local like Tibetan Buddhism, the circuit like the Kora in fire horse is 13 times more powerful than the usual Kora, I think. So it's a very potent time to go there this year. So and I'm so thank you for prompting me to share that.
Amazing. Yeah, I've had my guides have spoken about the year of the fire horse too, and they've said that there are some initiations that can only happen in the year of the fire horse because there's a ring of fire.
Yeah. Wow, I'm getting the energy down my body. Yes. Good. Yeah. So answering the call, I think for all of us, answering the call. Uh,
Go where your soul wants to go. Just go where your soul wants to go.
ah,
So, like, that's the bit. That's the way to live as beautifully as possible, because your soul's choice is never the cheapest choice. It's never the most sensible choice. It's always the most beautiful choice.
love that. Yeah. Dito.
That's your soul's choice.
Yes. Yeah.
Guilty choice is probably the cheapest choice. The guilty choice is probably, and the fearful choice is probably the safest choice. Your soul doesn't want any of that stuff. It wants the most beautiful choice.
Mm.
But
Beautiful.
if the most beautiful thing you can do is go to Kailash in the year of the horse, then go.
Yes. Come. Let's go. Yeah, thank you so much, Carilla. Thank you so much for this really nourishing conversation. It's such a level of love that was flowing through each and every word and experience you shared. And I thank you so much for for being here, for walking your initiation after initiation, your Land Tantra. Yeah, thank you. And thank you. I wanted to say thank everyone that had been tuning in and just, co-creating this conversation as well. Thank you, everyone. Such a beautiful souls on the call as well.
Thank you for your beautiful love and this beautiful, beautiful path that you are on.
So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And so I would say, like, until next time, enjoying being human and answering the call and be free, my love. Be free. So bye for now, everyone. I think
Thank you. That was so beautiful.
it is so beautiful. I think I need to. Where do I do the live stream stop? Sorry. I think are we still end stream sorry. End. Okay. Okay, now we are off live.